everyone, today we're doing watermelon cake pops. I found this recipe in a Betty Crocker cupcake book. You're going to need a white cake mix for this recipe. Mix the cake batter according to package directions and then add some food color. I'm using some pink paste food coloring. I just added enough until I got a nice vibrant shade of pink, and then I baked the cake according to package directions, and then I let it cool completely. I'm making just a partial recipe here. I use the rest of the cake batter to make cupcakes with for decorating for future videos. The full recipe will be in the description box below, of course. And then crumble up the cake in a large bowl. You can do this by hand, or you can even try to use an electric mixer. Crumble it up until you get some nice fine crumbs. I'm adding in some miniature chocolate chips, and those will be the seeds of the watermelon, and then a little bit of vanilla frosting. Stir the frosting and the cake crumbs together until you get a paste that's the consistency of Play-Doh or modeling clay. And you may have to use your hands towards the end just to make sure it's all mixed in nicely. Once that's mixed in, you're going to form them into little watermelon shapes, and the size, of course, is up to you. Now I'm going to insert the sucker sticks, or if you prefer the lollipop sticks. I'm dunking them into some melted white candy melting wafers. You could also use white chocolate. Just coat the end of the stick and then push it into the watermelon shape until it's about halfway in. And continue to do that. And then when you're done with those, you're going to place these in the freezer for about 20 to 30 minutes until they are very well chilled. And that'll just make them a lot easier to work with. You're going to need 2 shades of green. You're going to need light green. And I'm making light green by melting some dark green and some white candy melting wafers. And I'm also going to need some dark green candy melting wafers. Once those are melted, I melted them in the microwave at 50% power. I'm taking the chilled cake pops and just gently dunking it into the melted candy melting wafers and then letting the excess drip off. And I'm doing this by just very gently tapping it on the edge of the container until almost all of it has come off. And then place it into a block of styrofoam, or in this case I'm using a cake pop stand that I purchased at our local craft store at Michael's. And I'm doing another one here so you can see it close up. The candy melting wafers can be purchased at the Bulk Barn if you live in Canada, at Michael's craft store, or probably any other craft store in your area, as well as in some Walmarts. They also can be purchased online at a website like wilton.com. However, I'm sure there are others. You can also use white chocolate that's been dyed green. However, you're going to have to use oil-based colors in order for the chocolate not to seize up when you're mixing it. Then let the green set completely until it's hardened. You can do that at room temperature, or you can stick them in the fridge to go a little bit faster. And then you're going to add the little watermelon stripes. The watermelon stripes are the light green. I mixed the white and the dark green together, melted them, put them in a Ziploc bag, and cut the corner off. And I'm just drawing on the watermelon stripes. And you can make them different thicknesses, just like a real watermelon. The stripes aren't always the same thickness. And then let those harden, and you are done. There's your completed watermelon cake pops. And really, they don't really show themselves until you actually bite into it or cut into it, and you get to see the inside of it that has the pink and the little seeds inside the watermelon. You can also dunk these in white before you dunk them into green, and that way you'll get the color, both colors of the rind. I often get questions about the candy melting wafers and what I do with the leftovers. This is what I do. I spread the leftover candy melting wafer out onto a piece of waxed paper or saran wrap. I let it harden, and then I break it up and put it back into the container, and then you can remelt them for your next project so you don't have any waste, as long as they haven't been contaminated by any cake crumbs. And there are the completed watermelon cake pops. And there's the interior, and they really do look like little watermelons. I think that the next time I would make these, I would add a little bit of the white on the inside just to give it a little bit more realistic look. But I was pretty happy with the way these turned out. Give them a try.